our Director of Programs for 11th grade, and I'm so excited to host our Professional Development Series today with our lovely guest, Robin Stauffer, who is the President and CEO of High Foundation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
So my favorite question to start with is, where are you from, and what were some of your hobbies growing up?
Yeah, well, I grew up here in Lancaster. I am a graduate of Conestoga Valley High School. And,
Go Buckskins!
Yeah, and then completed my undergrad at Penn State. Hobbies growing up. Yeah, I loved the game of volleyball. Played quite a bit of volleyball through my early teen years and into my early adult years. I played 1 year field hockey, which I enjoyed, but wasn't really my thing. And yeah, as a young child growing up, we did a lot of camping. So I always enjoyed spending time in the outdoors.
Very fun. I also love camping. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So kind of pivoting a little bit, after graduating, can you talk about your career trajectory and how you landed at High Foundation?
Sure. So I started work right out of school. I was working at an insurance company early in my career, and worked there for about 2 years, and then was able to join the High organization. And I joined the High organization as an accounting clerk. And shortly after, starting in that position, I realized that it was going to be important for me to get an education if I was going to continue with the High organization. And so that was when I started thinking about, going back to school.
Yeah.
But I was in the accounting clerk position for about a year, and then joined the High Associates, which is the brokerage company.
Yes.
And I was in a position there for about a year as secretary. And it was while I was working there that there used to be these board meetings that were held there, and Dale and Calvin High were part of those board meetings. And I got to know both of them, and also the CFO at the time. And so I was invited to join the C-suite as the assistant to the CFO shortly after I joined the High organization.
That is incredible.
And that's kind of where things began to take off.
What do you think made that growth possible for you?
I've thought about that a lot over the years, and I think, first of all, I've always had sort of this can-do attitude, and I really credit my parents for instilling that in me. I never felt like I had limits to what I could accomplish. I knew that I had to work hard to get there, but I always felt supported and loved on that journey.
Yeah.
And so I think, that it started there, just sort of the optimistic, like, I can do this, of course I can do this. But then I think as I got into my career, it became evident that you really needed to put work into it. So that's where I started thinking about continuing my education and really looking for opportunities to grow, both with the organization, but also just in my skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about how you were able to continue your education while maintaining a positive relationship with, like, the High organization as a whole?
Yeah. It was a lot of work, but I was at a point where I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. I was married at the time, but I was still able to spend my weekends studying and, of course, taking classes at night. For 8-10 years, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I really tried to move through that as quickly as I could.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and at the time, Penn State had that step-up program where you could first obtain an associate's degree and then work towards your bachelor's. And so that was the path that I took.
So you were able to do that over the course of those years?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And of course, the High company supported me in that journey.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you realized in this journey that your role in this organization could be, like, much bigger, could evolve into essentially where you are right now?
Yeah. I think there was, although I'm not sure I was so mindful of it. I think, again, I kept getting presented with opportunities, and I would, always give it my best shot, and I continued to learn. I continued to develop the relationships that were important to kind of move to the next level, and just, was observing and learning from the folks that I was working with. And so I think, I don't know that it was like, I want to get to this position. It was more like this opportunity presented itself. I would I would go for that opportunity and was relatively successful, and then something else would open up. And so I think it was just always being in a space of, accepting challenges.
Yeah.
And learning from others around me. I had a lot of great role models.
Absolutely.
And mentors in those early years.
Thinking of those relationships and the people you were learning from, you spent over 30 years, you don't look it, but you spent over 30 years working alongside the vision of Dale High.
Yes.
How has that long-term mentorship shaped your leadership philosophy and decision-making today? Well,
first of all, let me just say I'm extremely fortunate to have had that view. As I said, I moved into the C-suite pretty early on in my career, and so was introduced to Dale and to the High family at an early age, but was working for other executives at the time as well. And this was a period of growth for the High companies. So, we're talking 90s, late 80s into the 90s, and just a lot of growth happening at that time. This was when we had new startups, we had acquisitions, just a lot of growth. And so I, as the assistant to the CFO at that time, I was in the seat to see all this happen, and I was part of that growth.
Yeah.
And so, I'm incredibly grateful for that opportunity. But at the same time, that was when I was introduced to the High Foundation. I was invited to sit in those meetings, and quickly became really interested in the space of philanthropy and just the opportunity that exists, to impact lives and to really play a part in the community.
Absolutely.
And so was fortunate to be introduced to that organization during that time as well.
Well, I'm very familiar with the High Foundation and their partnership that we have here at Attollo. Would you be able to explain to those listening what exactly the High Foundation does? Kind of like break it down a little bit.
Sure. So the High Foundation was formed in 1980, and it was formed by Sanford High, the founder, and his two sons, Dale and Calvin High. The foundation continues today under Dale's family. And now, he's contributed his ownership in the High companies to the foundation. But yeah, it was formed 36 years ago, and, or 45, wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, 45 years ago, yeah. And so those early years, it was certainly making significant contributions, but the fund balance, the corpus was much smaller.
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity for me to begin to see the role that philanthropy plays in our community, and the organizations that were certainly making significant impact in lives. And so learned a lot through that time, and I think that was when I began to develop the relationships that have served me well today. And just was pleased to be part of sort of the High family's kind of early, introduction into the space of philanthropy.
Absolutely. And I also really appreciate that you are like a real life example of someone who grew up in this community and is now investing time and energy in the community as well. As here at Attollo, we often talk about building this pipeline of diverse leaders, and we want to send them off, but we want them to come back.
Right.
And we want them to know that it's actually worth coming back to Lancaster and investing in this community. So first and foremost, thank you for doing that. But now thinking, like, my understanding is as of January 1st, you were named president and CEO of the High Foundation. Incredible. How do you carry on someone's legacy while still making the role your own?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, you have to have the utmost respect for the benefactor, which I do. I just think, Dale's contribution and gifts to this community are unprecedented.
Yes.
And so, the admiration that I have for him as a person and for him as a philanthropist is off the charts. So, it starts there, the respect, the admiration, wanting to be part of that, wanting to see that legacy continue. But he's such a humble man, too. So, he sets the example of how we should show up in community. Our guiding principle is a quote from Dale, which says, "We are on this earth for a purpose that is larger than our own self-interest, and that purpose is to make the world a better place, beginning in our communities." So I think, for me, the values that we espouse certainly align with my own personal values, and the example that he is to us as citizens, as human beings, is something that I want to try and live up to. So to work for somebody like that and to be part of that organization and that legacy and that message is so inspirational and something that I certainly want to see carried forward.
Absolutely. And so it sounds like these values that you have had are just really in alignment with the values that the organization has had all this time prior to you stepping into this role.
Absolutely.
So making it your own may not be rewriting the entire script, but emphasizing and really focusing in on those values.
Right, absolutely. And just shining a spotlight on Dale High's legacy.
Incredible.
And the gifts that he's made to this community.
So speaking of gifts, the mission of the High Foundation is to bridge, is to build a bridge to opportunity.
Right.
What does this phrase mean to you in practice, and how do you know when that bridge is actually working?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure everybody understands the bridge to opportunity metaphor with the High companies, right? So the first company,
so true.
Yeah,
This is
the first
good.
company that was that started High was High Steel Structures.
Yeah.
Of course, back in the day, it was called, when it was first started, it was just a small welding shop, High Welding Company here in Lancaster. So that's where we came up with that. We call it our tagline or a theme for the High Foundation and for our work. But I think it makes perfect sense for what we're trying to accomplish, which really is come alongside individuals and organizations and create that bridge to opportunity, right? It's not, we're not trying to come out in front and say, we have all the answers and this is what you should do. It's more understanding what are the needs, what are the challenges in the community, what are the organizations that are supporting those objectives and trying to achieve change in those spaces, and then coming alongside them and providing the resources and the support to make that happen.
Absolutely.
So that's the bridge to opportunity, right? And that's the role that we play, is providing the support, the resource, and hopefully the encouragement and inspiration to move ideas forward.
Yeah, I have always been a big fan of community service, and now kind of seeing this side of it from being like a director at a nonprofit and really being a part of that philanthropic work, I really appreciate this philosophy of wanting to not just come in and, like you said, this is what you need, but to actually be there, understand their mission, to be able to bridge that opportunity. But how do you know if it's working? Like, how do you know if what you've done is actually making an impact, especially when you guys help so many people, you can't be there every day.
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with the relationship, right? It starts with understanding the mission of the organization that you're supporting and the leadership of that organization, and then just continuing to stay close. We pay really close attention to the investments we've made and the work that's being accomplished and the results. I will tell you that we're really trying to move into this space of, we call it evaluation and learning, which is trying to track outcomes and understand the impact that's being made through our investments. We're not as far along yet as I would like to be. It's a space where we're exploring what really good looks like, and how we want to set up our organization to move into that more intentionally. The space of evaluation and learning is certainly a priority for us.
I love a data-driven decision.
Yeah.
Love spreadsheet. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, thinking a little bit more about some of these initiatives that you are going to be spearheading, the foundation has focused on things like affordable housing and environmental impact. How do you decide where to focus resources to create most meaningful long-term change? I mean, it sounds like, yes, you're having these conversations with people and building relationships, but ultimately, how do you choose?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Again, when Dale High made these gifts to the foundation, his direction to us was very clear. We're not just going to scale grant making. We're going to identify areas where the High Foundation can truly drive change and lead and create impact. And so, working with our board, we went through a pretty lengthy strategic planning process. And we identified the space of affordable housing and the environment, the two spaces. So those are what we refer to as our high impact work.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's really where we're focusing most of our attention and resources these days, while continuing to provide investments in individual and social well-being, economic vibrancy, and community vitality. So we refer to that as our opportunity grant portfolio, but our high impact work is focused in the space of spaces of affordable housing and the environment. And so we formed 2 new 501c3s to try and drive that work. In the space of the environment, we formed an organization called Partners for Environmental Stewardship.
Okay.
And we're planning to build an environmental center on the Sunnyside Peninsula. I don't know if you've read anything about that, but this will be home for probably 8 organizations that are already working in the space of the environment. And we really view this as sort of a hub for education, inspiration, and convening around issues that are facing us today in the environmental space. So, so we formed that organization. We've also formed Lancaster Housing Works, which is directed toward creating more affordable housing in the we call it in the workforce housing space, meaning individuals who are in the 50 to 80% AMI range, folks who are working, but still are finding it really hard to meet the cost of rent. And so we're trying to create more units in that space. We've acquired our first apartment community.
Okay.
That is moving us in that direction. Our goal is to create about 350, 360 units over the next 5 years. And so we're working with the high companies who also have, of course, a lot of expertise in this space.
Yes, they do.
To help us achieve some of those goals. So those are examples of how we're really trying to invest in the space of the environment and housing and really drive change and lead in that space.
So figuratively and literally building bridges.
Yes, yes, exactly.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm hearing this theme that you have kind of been sharing about how the High Foundation approaches projects that we have here at Attollo. It's one of our staff values. If it doesn't exist, make it exist. If it exists, make it better. And I really, really thank you. Yeah. Well, I actually should credit Jordan for that. So
love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in that regard, thinking about leadership and legacy, because we look to our mentors, we look to our leaders. So kind of focusing on yours, you've led the foundation for years as an executive director. What shifted for you when you transitioned into your current role as president and CEO? And how do you lead, think, or carry on responsibility?
I don't think there's been a huge shift, quite frankly, but I do think as we position ourselves for the future, this was the right change to make. And as we build the team, I was sharing with some folks here this afternoon that, prior to 3 years ago, this was a one-person team. And now there's soon to be 6 of us. So,
wow.
As we think about what's the next chapter for the High Foundation, I think this was the right sort of step to take in terms of my role and how we're positioning that for the future. But I don't think there was a huge shift in thinking. I think, my goal has always been to really honor the High family's legacy and contribution to this community, and then also to look for opportunities where we can truly make a difference and invest in a way that makes sense, around community needs and the issues that we're facing.
Absolutely. You often describe like leading through essentially a servant leadership lens. What does servant leadership look like in practice when leading an organization, specifically of this size and caliber?
I think I touched on that a little bit earlier,
yeah.
where it, in my view, it's really, we're on this earth to serve others. And so it's not about us, and it's about coming alongside folks and really helping to be that support, whether it's through, just being a friend, or whether it's through resources or time or talent. There's lots of ways that we can be supportive. And so servant leadership to me is, showing up with a sense of humility, I think. We bring our best selves to this work, but none of us are perfect. And so, and no one person can do this alone either, or organization, in my opinion. I think it really takes a team of people, it takes a team of organizations to change some of the things we're facing in our community. So servant leadership for me is about, just being there for one another, but really bringing our best selves to that work and coming up with solutions that will drive us forward.
I really appreciate you breaking it down, especially you said this one thing, showing up with humility. And I know for myself as a mentor here at Attollo, my goal, or one of my goals I should say, is to uplift our students. And many of our students really want to make an impact, but aren't sure where to start. So what is one mindset or principle that you believe is essential for someone who wants to create meaningful change over time, but like specifically thinking of it through the lens of a high school student and how they could start today?
Yeah. That's a great question. People ask me that often, and I always respond with, first of all, what are you passionate about? What really excites you? Where do you enjoy spending your time? And then from there, how do you connect to where you can make a difference, right? So, you talked about you enjoy data, right?
Oh, yeah.
And analytics. So, as you think about how you continue to move forward, what are opportunities where you can use that energy, that skill set, to help impact an organization or a community? So I think that's where it starts. And then just preparing yourself for that work and finding organizations or individuals that you can align yourself with to be able to accomplish your goals.
Absolutely.
But it starts with what's important to you.
That reflection component.
Yeah, and your values. Where can you be your authentic self?
Yeah.
In the work. I think that's critical too.
And I mean, this doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
Which is also kind of like the hard part, I would say. Because as you're talking about your career, it's really reflecting a lot of patience and consistency and a long-term commitment. And we also have high-achieving students here who want to see that really quickly.
Yeah.
So how do you, what would you say to the young people who feel this pressure to achieve really quickly or compare their journeys to others? Yes, we can tell them, reflect, think of your values, but what about that person who's like, but I want to see it now?
Well, I think first of all, you have to be open to the opportunities, right? And look for the opportunities. I mentioned earlier that my journey has been, a lot of sort of, I was given an opportunity and I said, sure, I'll step forward and I'll give it a try. And maybe didn't always feel like I had all the skills necessary to do the job, but was willing to put in the time and the effort to learn. So it takes work too. And it is, in some instances, kind of being at the right place at the right time, but then being open to opportunities as they come along and looking for those opportunities too, right?
Absolutely.
As you think about your direction or where you want to go next.
Given that this is our professional development series, it actually started to support current Attollo staff members in our professional growth. how do you find opportunities? Like, where are you looking? So I can look there too.
I think surround yourself with people that you respect and people that you admire, and people that have similar value systems. I think it starts there. And then, again, just being open and prepared to step forward when the time presents itself. But I also, another thing that I think is important is just kind of, I mentioned authenticity.
Yeah.
Showing up as your true self. Because people quickly see if you're trying to be something you're not.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
So being authentic and being living in a space of optimism and opportunity, and that would be my advice.
Have you ever found yourself in a moment where, like, you are being open to opportunity and you are taking that step forward, but you're also actively uncomfortable at that time?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so let's talk about it, because I would love to sit here and say, like, yes, I can walk in with an open mind, but these feelings are real.
Yeah.
What do you do to push through that?
It's a lot of self-talk, and it's certainly knowing, confidence, right? Like knowing that a lot of my self-talk is, I can only give it my best. That's all I can do. And if I know that I'm giving it my best, then that's as much as I can do, because I've prepared myself. I've, hopefully, you have your education, you have your relationships, you've worked hard, and you're giving it your best. Like, you can't ask more of yourself.
True.
So that's
so true.
So it's continuing to remind yourself that, you've prepared for this moment, and if you've worked hard and you're doing the best you can, that's all you can ask of yourself.
Thank you. I think I needed to hear that. Before I kind of open it up to our audience, I would love to ask some kind of questions about, like, you, like a little personal. So outside of work, what brings you joy or helps you stay grounded in the midst of this impactful leadership, where it can be tiring to constantly remind yourself, like, you've got this? So, like, what do you do to kind of relax?
Well, I play a lot of golf.
Ooh!
In the summer, I love golf. And I have a really close group of friends that I play with, so that's important to me. I try and do that on the weekend. It's really a time where I can, just let everything else go, and I'm on the golf course and I'm having fun with my friends. So I do that. I also really try and protect my time. There's, in this position, I could be out every night of the week and on the weekend. So I really try and protect my weekends and keep that for, social time and for my husband and my own interests. And then I think just, reminding myself that, again, if you're doing this with that sense of gratitude and just humility and just being grateful to be in this space at this time and to have this opportunity, I'm always reminded of that too. So
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure there's a time for questions from the audience, and then I have one more before we close out. But does anyone want to get us started? Yes, Terry.
Gotta steal it from Leo. Robin, thank you so much for being here today. So I, like Emily, I'm a fiend for some data. And, I got my master's in evaluation science. So I'm really interested in what you were mentioning. I'm really interested in what you were talking about with the evaluation learning.
Yes.
And I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about what that looks like in practice. And then sort of pairing with that, right as you were talking about that, you were also talking about the impact of relationships and the relationships in your work. So I'm curious, how do you strike a balance between, what the data might be telling you and also the relationships that you have when it comes to decision making?
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that is. So I'll start with the first part. I think I think we're trying to come at it from, how do we measure success across the community in a variety of areas, and then how do we identify the impact that we are making in those spaces? So then, measuring the contribution that we make to that and the investment that we make. So that's, I'm trying to remember, there's a term that we're using. There is a framework that we're following. I can't, the term's not coming to me right now. But so understanding the issues that are in the community and trying to move the needle on those issues, but then also understanding the impact and the investment that we're making that will help to drive those changes. That's how we're thinking about it. And then the result of that will be, and again, we're in the early stages, so still a lot to learn here. The result of that will be sharing that information then with the community. We're talking about doing something like an annual learning memo. And we're starting with housing as our pilot area for this work, but then we'll move into the space of the environment and eventually to all of our grant making. So, how do we then share the results of our findings and our work with others and look for opportunities to partner together and to convene, as a community around some of these issues. So that's how we're thinking about it. It's kind of those two pieces, what's happening in the community and then what the High Foundation is doing to contribute to the issue. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
And then you talked about relationships.
Yeah, because so when you were talking about data, it sort of aligned with when you were also talking about just like the relationships and how essential they are. Right. So I'm just curious, how do you sometimes strike a balance maybe between data when data shows you one thing, but you have a relationship with somebody here, how do you, I guess, prioritize one over the other?
Yeah, I think you always have to be doing both. I think relationships are so key to driving change, right? Like you can't do the work without relationships. So I think you have to be doing both, but always paying attention to the result and the impact that is occurring as a result of your work. But it starts with people. It starts with the relationships. That's how the work will get done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, great to see you.
Good to see you.
What present practices or balances keep you grounded in your truth? What brings you the most peace within yourself?
Yeah, that's a big question. I've been reminded recently that nature plays a role in well-being. And sometimes it's as simple as just getting outside and going for a walk, right? I'm also reminded of, I mentioned the guiding principle. We're on this earth for a purpose that's larger than our own self-interests. So in many ways, it's not about us, right? It's how can we contribute to the success of others. So just, staying in that space of humility and then, just my friendships mean a lot to me. So I really value that and really try and, spend time with my friends too. And that happens in a lot of different ways, but I try and make that a priority. So just, those would be the things I think I would point to. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes,
Yeah.
Terry, would you pass the mic?
Hi, thanks, Robin.
Yes.
My question, I was really encouraged to hear about your time at the high companies during the heyday of the startups and acquisitions. I'm sure that was very exciting and formative.
Fortunate, yeah.
Yeah. But my question is a little bit more about what inspires you. Mm-hmm. So it's really clear that Dale's legacy, his mentorship, his belief in you is part of what inspires you. But when you look out into the future and see the future for the High Foundation, or you look for inspiration that you would like to, bring to the Lancaster community, what does that inspiration look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my question. I'd love to understand that vision.
And my mind immediately goes to just the uniqueness and the culture that exists here in Lancaster County. We are so fortunate to be in this community. I've seen it demonstrated over and over again. This community comes together around issues that are important to all of us, and that's pretty unique. We are able to have conversations, pick up the phone and call just about anybody in significant roles across our community, and really, come together around issues that we're facing. And so I just think we have a unique culture here in Lancaster County. I think I'm reminded of, there's a lot of really smart people that it's not about their ego, it's about how do we together address some of the things that we're facing. And so, I don't know, I'm inspired by that. Yeah.
We have time for one more audience question. Would anyone like to be our final question?
Hi, my name is Jonathan Edwards. I'm with PA Career Link. You spoke early on about mentorship. Can you talk about how you were able to allow yourself to be available and open to that guidance, how it supported you as you kind of navigated and made the commitment to invest your career in one place?
Yeah. I'm just so fortunate to have had people who were really interested in my success. And it's interesting. I was talking to a colleague recently about mentorship and the importance of that in our lives. And we were reflecting, and it's more than just mentorship. I think it's having a champion, having someone in your corner who really makes things happen for you. But to answer your question, I think just the opportunity to have been in the C-suite at the time that I was, which was very formative for me, to see how other people handled themselves and responded to situations and created team, and brought folks along. These were strong leaders, but I never felt like I was not part of the team. I always felt like even at that level, I was part of the team. I had something to contribute. So, yeah, I think just to observe and to pay attention to others around you. But then if you have a champion, somebody who's really going to bat for you in certain situations, like that is so valuable. And I'm mindful of, what are ways that we're always being a mentor, right? There's people are always paying attention to how we handle ourselves and how we show up in certain situations. So I think it's just always trying to think of how we show up for others and how we can be a support to others and helping to guide others.
I got to follow up on it though, Robin.
Yeah.
And humility, like this is not the humility is just who she is and this organization, but I can't let you off.
Okay.
You have done things that have led to people wanting to mentor you. You do things that lead to people inviting you.
Yeah.
What are a couple of those things that as we're all trying to get invited to the next thing and to be mentored by people like yourself, what are some of those qualities that led to you getting mentored?
Preparing yourself, doing the hard work, right?
Yeah.
I keep going back to this authentic sort of response. And then I think just, as I said earlier, being open to the opportunities and stepping into it. Just not being, it's not that I didn't have, that I wasn't afraid or had self-doubt, but you just got to give it your best, so. Yeah, those are the things that I think. And I always had, I said earlier about my parents, I always felt like I could do choose what I wanted to do and figure it out. I never felt like I had barriers to my aspirations. And so just, I don't know, that's a mindset too, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say before I ask my last question, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I recently did an exercise where I was kind of reviewing my own values, and I really appreciated that in this conversation, 3 of them came up, which is authenticity, gratitude, and recognizing the importance of relationships. So thank you for instilling that yet again. I feel like it's a sign that that is definitely something I should keep going with.
There's your answer. Authenticity, gratitude, and relationships. That's
okay, sound
so
bite.
valuable. Yeah.
To close us out, Robin,
Yeah.
if you could leave our scholars with one thought,
Yeah.
something they carry with them long after today, what would that be?
Live in a space of gratitude and optimism. Yeah. You're all fortunate to have this connection to Attollo, right? They are looking out for your best interests. And so take advantage of that. That's somebody who said, you're important to me. It's an organization who said, you're important to me. So take advantage of the opportunity that's being presented to you. It's a huge opportunity. And that will then propel you to the next thing. So that would be my advice. Just
Well, we have
live in the
scholars
moment.
here, so
live in the moment. Yep.
I'm glad you were able to share that. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for being
thank you.
here.
Thank you.
you.
Really appreciate it.